Hey Humanity Church, I'm Pastor Nathan, and I am in Atlanta right now at a leadership conference. Wish that I could be there with you. But today we are starting our summer series that we are calling Zoo Theology. All throughout the scriptures, there are powerful images, metaphors that use animals to explain profound truths about God, about ourselves, about wisdom as to how we are to live. And over the next few weeks, every Sunday, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from two communicators that will be bringing us these powerful images and metaphors of animals from the scriptures. Everything from birds to fish to donkeys to frogs to dogs. We're going to be taking a look at these images of animals in the scriptures and how they apply to us. And our commitment over the next few weeks is that this wouldn't be some gimmicky, kitschy conversation using animals, but that we would really dive into these profound truths that the scriptures give us that would impact how we live, how we interact with God, how we interact with one another, and that they would be a diving board into really profound moments and truths as to how we are to live our lives. So I'm excited as we dive into these animal images over the next few weeks, found all throughout the scriptures. You're going to have the opportunity to not only hear from two communicators each week, but to pause and to discuss these powerful truths with one another. So when it comes time to discuss, I'm going to ask that you not sit there quietly, but that you'd find someone to actually talk with today. If you're at home, make sure that during that time you get off of the full screen and join the chat and have a conversation around how these images apply to your life and how this wisdom is going to be used this week. So let's jump in with our very first communicator today.
Good morning, humanity. My name is Juan. I'm an elder, communicator, and resident radical, and I am just honored to be all those things. So, have you ever had this experience where, like, you've had a realization, an epiphany, a breakthrough, or even a download from God where a thing became really clear to you? Like what I'm to do next, what the next step is, or what path I'm to be on. Anybody? Yeah. You've had that. Okay, awesome. Me too. And then have you had this experience? You're excited, little, maybe terrified even, but then as you walk it out, it starts to get hard. And the easiest thing is just to go back to the old way. And then how many of you, like me, actually go back to the old way? Okay, so I'm in the middle of this thing right now. I've had a couple of downloads through dreams. And actually, here's the crazy thing. I asked God to reveal something in dreams. And I've gotten a couple of dreams that have said, basically the message is, hey, Juan, you use people, and this is how you use them. You have a ledger of where you've invested in people and where you notice you have a lot of relational money in the bank. You make requests of those people, but really what you're doing is you're pretending to make a request. You actually are making a demand. And when they give you any inkling of, I'm not going to do the thing, all this energy goes into, without words, do you remember how much capital I've invested in you? So God told me, you use people and you treat them like tools. Huh. So I'm going to go a new way. And I do that. And I'm telling you, I'm in this right now. This is recent dreams. So some of you, I've made requests of you this week, so you already know. This is a recent dream, and I'm exhausted. Like I'm telling you, I'm yawning more than I've yawned in a long time. I'm not really a low-energy kind of person. And everything in me wants to go back to my ledger. Let's just, you know what, I'd rather just use people because I've been doing that for so long. It's just easy. Anybody can relate with something like that? Amen. So here's the thing. What happens is that we want to go after the real thing, the authentic thing. But what we do is we settle for counterfeits. And it looks like this. Rather than love and connection, sex. I'll do that. Rather than struggle through the relationship right now, I say something like, God's calling me to a new marriage. And as a matter of fact, I'll start that relationship before I end this marriage. And never mind that I have children. Other people it's so hard to face where I am with people that alcohol, it's cool and it's acceptable as long as you don't do too much in front of other people. You can do too much alone, but as long as it's not in front of other people, it's cool. Nobody's even going to call you on it. Awesome. And what we refuse to see is all the death that comes on the other side of that. So my animal is the golden calf. So people of Israel, this is cool. This is a story that's been embedded in us for 3,400 years. It's an old story, but it's a new story. The people of Israel, and if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we learned that Israel means struggle. The people of Israel followed God into freedom, and they were led by a pillar of cloud by the day and fire by night. And man, it's easy to lose. It's easy to judge these people, right? But we don't remember that they were at this following God, His voice, His vision for 40 years. And they finally get to the base of this mountain, Mount Sinai, and God says to them, look, here's the mountain, here's the border. I want none of you to make a move forward yet, except for Moses. This one guy, I want him to come up the mountain with me. But he tells everyone, look, you are a nation of priests. I am going to come back down and be with you. That's like my download dream, right? Start loving people more, Juan. There's a lot of richness there. I'm going to meet you. And that happens. Moses goes up, and here's what's crazy. The people are waiting down there, and as he goes up, he gets lost in fire, smoke, clouds, thunder, lightning. The way I love you is frightening. And what if you were at that base of that mountain? How would you respond? Honestly. Homeboy ain't coming back. Because when you go up and fire breaks out, I've not seen many human beings come back from that. And as a matter of fact, the people say at some point, I'm quoting the Bible, so who the hell was this Moses anyway? And they turn their back. And the only thing that they can do is that they want to take control into their own hands. They want to start keeping the ledger like I do. So they create this golden calf so that they can worship it and God, they say. I'm going to worship the gods of Israel and, of course, you, God, Lord of Lords, Most High. And it was cheap because they didn't have to sacrifice for it. As a matter of fact, Aaron, the leader, asked the people, just whatever gold you already have on you, throw it into the fire, and I'll make the golden calf. And I thought about that. They didn't have to do anything more. They didn't have to sacrifice. They had already earned the gold. So it was a cheap sacrifice. And sometimes I make cheap sacrifices. And sometimes you make cheap sacrifices. And what you don't realize is that people die when that happens. So they took off the cheap crap that they had on them, no sacrifice. They throw it into the fire, and Aaron makes a golden calf. I love animals. I love animals. But hugging a golden calf, now loving a loving Charlie, soft-hair Wheaten Terrier, which is my dog, that's life. And God says to Moses while he's up in this hill, he says, like any parent who has had a child do something epically not good says, look at your people, just like we say, look at your son, what he's done now. What do you mean my son? He's your son too. God says, look at your people and what they've done. And Moses says, let me go check it out. I'm going to go fix this. And Moses comes back, and he is so angered because he has been in the presence of the holy God, and he was supposed to come down with God to introduce him to all of the people. And they cheaped out. And what happens when we sacrifice cheap things for personal gain or personal comfort? What happens? People get hurt. Relationships get killed. You send children into 20 years of therapy because you made these choices when they're 5 and 6. And that's what happened to these people. All kinds of mayhem. And people actually did die. I want you to read Exodus 31 and 32 when you want some light reading and just see what the outcome is. But here's the cool thing. God so loves us that he does a reset. And he teaches us a new way. Jesus comes, and at some point, it is so clear to Jesus, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to show the people that there is a way for their narcissism to die and for life to come out of that. So I have to die on a cross and come back to life. And that's what the Father has called me to for my friends and those that will come after me. Or, in my case, if I stop using people like tools, for those around me that I love. So Jesus has the same crisis like the people of Israel did. There was a moment where he's like, oh my gosh, this is much too much. But he goes to the garden and he sits, he calls some of his friends and he sits and he goes to the Father and he says, this seems way too much, God. I want you to take this cup from me. But not my will. Your will be done. And then God leads him into an ordeal that breaks through with life for other people. What I want you to consider, I'm going to ask a question. I want you to consider, where is it that you have been settling for the counterfeit? And I want you to consider, in settling for this counterfeit, who am I hurting? Who am I killing? What am I wasting? And then, if you dare, you're going to get in groups of 2 or 3. And this is the dangerous part of today. If you're an introverted person, I'm going to encourage, if people see you trying to be like writing notes and being studious and being kind of, acting like you're engaged in something else other than signaling to everyone around you, please don't get me involved in this. I'm going to ask them to lovingly move you into their group to ask that question. And then the second part is, I want you to consider if you will take that counterfeit thing to God in prayer. And if you do, by when will you take it in prayer to him? Cool? I love you guys. Do it.
I was told a lie. It was already unmuted. So I switched it to mute. How you guys doing? Are you wrapping up a really uplifting conversation? Leslie leans over to me. She goes, "Well, that was uplifting." I said, "It was. You gotta challenge yourself." And that's just some honesty for you. That's on brand. So, by the way, my name is Scott. I am a professional human. And so let's dive right into this. Proverbs 6, starting in verse 6. "Go to the ant, you sluggard." That's it. No, I'm just mic drop, we're done. "Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provision in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man." This is a great uplifting morning where we're just talking about all the preach you happy verses in the Bible. So this seems like a really straightforward proverb, and it is, and it can be, but like most things in life that are worth looking at, there's a lot of depth in this. And I wonder how many of you are like me, where you find yourself knowing exactly what you should do at pretty much any given moment. I know what the best thing to do is, and also find yourself most of the time not doing what the best thing is. And like for me, it's like I could just do a 15-minute workout. I would feel better. I would look better. My wife would be like, "Are your guns getting bigger?" And I would be like, "No, but I feel like they are." And it could look like anything, but we kind of know. We know. Everybody knows, right? What's that quote? It's like, If knowledge was the answer, we'd all have six packs and $1 million. That's right? Because we all know, how do you get a six pack? Don't eat anything you like and do a lot of sit-ups, right? How do you make $1 million? I don't really know that. If that's not as simple, we all understand this. Yeah, save, buy real estate. I don't know, but it's just a lot of times we can kind of put ourselves in this thing where we're looking at the thing we know we should do. And then we're looking at other people maybe that do it better, or we look at just celebrities or people we don't know, but just, and then there's sometimes, at least for me, there's just like but they are single and don't have children, so they can do the workout in the morning, Oh, well, they, are better at working than I am, so they have more money than I do, And I feel like that's like the surface level when you are making that excuse to yourself, because that's what that is. I feel like if you really kind of take a second, I think what really happens is that it's not so much me comparing myself to other people or seeing what the hard part would be. It's more giving myself the out, right? Like, it's not so much like, well, other people have an easier time, so it's hard. It's like the other part of that coin is, I could do it later, I could just wait. I'll work out tomorrow. Okay, Tuesday, Thursday is better than Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then, and so you just you give yourself these little back doors, right? And so if I stare long enough at the abyss of my own soul, I will realize that that's what I'm doing, right? And rather than honestly weighing the pros and cons, because if you're dumb enough to do that and weigh the pros and cons of like what you should do, you're not going to come up with, yeah, I definitely shouldn't do it. And so that's what you just go, well, I'm not going to weigh them then. So let's just go like, all right, it's time to work out. And it's like, but I'm hungry. Yeah. You don't want to work out on an empty stomach, right? Let's go to the kitchen. Let's do that. If I work out now and I don't eat, but then I'm going to have some protein because of the gains, And so then, but I wanted to fast this morning, so okay, I got to wait until the afternoon. Afternoon comes along, well, now it's hot and I'm tired. So it's just these little slippery slopes that we give ourselves, they evaporate with 2 seconds of real self-reflection. Like, that's all it takes. If you just were to pause and go, why don't I want to do that? Well, I'm lazy. That's what it is. I don't really want to do it because I just, and I like the taste of really good food more than I like a six-pack. That's really, I like having a nice cold beer on Friday because I don't drink it through the weekdays. So that's like a reward for me, but I know it's not good, So I love the taste of Oreo cookies. I cannot keep them in my home because I will get diabetes. Like, it will happen. So if you look at this, we have a choice to obey the implied wisdom in this. Like, don't listen to your delays and false excuses, right? Consider the ant, look at what it does. But the other layer is this invitation into the kingdom of heaven is different than what you think it is. A lot of times, I'm guilty of this, of thinking about the kingdom of heaven like this, and saying that this is what the kingdom of heaven is like, it's just hard. And it's right, so you just do the right thing, right? But it's really Jesus and his kingdom, and which this is from the Old Testament. This was written by Solomon, who was dead long before Jesus came to the earth. It's still that same relationship. That's not just do the thing that we said, just obey the law, just do the right things and you'll be blessed. There's truth to it, but that's just one level of it, right? If you take a second and look at it, one way to read this is ants are good because they don't have a master, right? You could interpret that. It says, look at them, they have no, what is it? They have no master, they have no commander, no overseer, no ruler. The other way is they do the good thing, they store in summer despite not having a master. Even though they don't have a master, they do the thing. Solomon knew what he called wisdom. He said it was a person. Jesus, the scripture then declares that's Jesus, right? he was interacting with God in a way that was just giving him, he was the wisest man on earth, right? That's his reputation to this day, even to the, you sinners. I'm one too, don't worry. He had this relationship with God where he knew there's more to this than just do the thing. The ant can do it despite not having wisdom in his life. The ant doesn't consider what he does. You consider the ant because look at what God has made it to do. Be in a relationship where the thing that rules you is good and brings you to life. See, I have great news for you this morning. We can be done managing our own sin. If that didn't hit you and you think that sounded blasphemous, you don't have to manage your own sin. That's not your job. Your job is to be ruled by the one who gives life. Because then you'll do the right thing. Then these things called the 10 Commandments, they don't become, don't murder, don't covet, don't steal. It's you won't covet. You won't steal. You won't look at your brother and testify against him falsely because your source that's ruling you is bringing you into life. And he's the one and the only one that can do that. It's not just a matter of trying harder. But this proverb doesn't relieve you of all responsibility, right? How long will you lay there and make an excuse? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Instead of just, we have whatever 1% God has given us to do to come to him, we still have to do that 100%. Does that make sense? I'll say it again because the math works out really well. The 1% we're given, we got to do 100%. But when we connect to life, we don't come to him clean. We come to him to be cleaned. We consider the ant because despite not having a ruler, even though they don't have a ruler, they still do this wonderful thing of gathering when they should and storing when they should. You, being connected to God, will then do as you should do. In John chapter 15, Jesus says this, "You are my friends if you do what I command." Right? There's the consider the ant part. "I no longer call you servants." A servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. That was Jesus' attitude to his disciples. After they had followed him, they could be considered servants because they were clueless, not because Jesus was talking down to them. They didn't understand what he was doing on earth. They thought it was a cultural revolution. They thought he was going to overthrow Rome. He came to bring life and life abundant, and the way he did that is, you do what I say, I love you, now I call you friends. What kind of friend only does what you want to do? What kind of friend am I if I always do what I want to do? Is that a scary thought that God calls you a friend then? He chose the words. He said that. Because his invitation is not one of punish yourself if you fall short. Think about the ant. Yes, you're a loser and a sluggard. How long are you? There's another one, by the way, that I almost brought in. It's a sluggard turns in his bed like a hinge on a door. That's just so uplifting. Like whenever I hit the snooze button. But instead, it's not to shame you. It's to point out when you're disconnected from life, you have no choice. You have no choice. You're just going to keep turning in your bed. You're going to keep folding your hands, a little slumber, a little sleep, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty comes on you like an armed robber. I don't think this proverb is saying, try harder and be more diligent. I think this proverb is saying, remember who's your daddy. Remember who your daddy is. You are a son and a daughter of the King Most High. Do that 1%. Come to him. Lord, you are my king. I will act accordingly. And my king thinks it's wise for me to consider what the ant does. My king thinks it's good for me to be diligent. My king will change me until I am like that. And all I need to do is come to his feet. All that you ask for is surrender. We didn't even plan the worship set this morning. Hit me. We can put the question up because I forgot to write it in these notes. So, yeah, where are you letting a little folding of the hands to keep you from doing your 100% of your 1%? Where are you just not going to God or surrendering to him? That's what I want you to discuss. Same group, make it easy, talk amongst yourselves, but just consider what it costs you when you don't do that. Consider when you come to God and you start when your life is based around, hey, Lord, I'm helpless. What do you have to say about this thing? Consider what that picture looks like compared to, Lord, I'm helpless. I'll try harder until I'm worthy of speaking with you. Because you considering the ant this morning might just look like you coming home. You considering the ant this morning might just be dealing with a little bit of your shame, of you being afraid to just confess that thing that you know God already knows. You considering the ant this morning might look like saying something to your brother or sister. It might look like apologizing, because it's just another way to say, come as you are to the King Most High, and he will wash your feet. Okay? Go.